Alright guys, welcome. This is going to be technically video number 1 of the repair for my Project Explorer. You'll be able to check out the other videos as I am making this. So the first video was an introduction to the car. This is going to be the first repair. Getting right to it, we're going to be changing out the radiator. Part of the deal with changing out the radiator is we need to remove the front bumper in order to get to the radiator. So we're going to start out with the simple parts of it, which is taking off these bolts. Going to be going underneath, and there's some bolts here on the side that need to be taken off, which will allow us to take the little grill flange off. A couple of bolts here, and then underneath there'll be some bolts. So this is a 5th generation. In particular, I am using my 2011 Explorer XLT, changing the radiator. Alright, first thing I'll be taking off will be these bolts. These are 10mm. There are 7 of them. So we're going to take these off. I've already loosened them up a little bit, of course, for you guys. Basically just using my 10mm socket. Basically want to get to the radiator first to confirm exactly what needs to be fixed on it. Alright, so here we also have 2 tabs. Alright, you can do this with a clip puller. I'm going to just use a screwdriver. I'm just going to grab it and then counter grab it. Once you get it up enough, then you can just go underneath and just edge it out, just like that. Don't lose your pieces. Alright, so taking off those 7 bolts and these 2 tabs allows this piece to come off. And what you've also done in that process is taking off your screws, which locked on the front part of your bumper cover. So for now, this top part is done. We're going to move down to the sides. Alright, so moving down to the driver fender, I'll start out. So underneath, it's got these screws, which are here. In order to remove that, I think there's another one underneath too that holds the inner splash shield. So we're going to take those off. Mine is a Phillips screwdriver that I'll be doing this part with. All these screws seem to be the same size, so that should be no issue for what order they're put back into their positions. Holes. So this has clamps, and then it just slides out. Alright? And this one just opens up here. Alright, this is good enough for me to do what I need to do on here. So I'm going to move over, and inside right up in there. So it's got these little clamps like this. Okay, and then there's a screw right there that I'm going to take out. And same the other sides. All right. So as it's coming loose, and you get that one screw out, then you're going to go ahead and you can start pulling a little bit. These just kind of clamps, and it falls into a groove here. I'll show you what that looks like after I get it off. My plastic is good. Got a little bit of a crack on my retainer plastic over here, so I'll replace that later with my fender. And I heard there's another one underneath, as far as a few as well underneath. Alright, so I'm going underneath, and right there is a little screw. There's another one here, as well as one here. So that's right here where a tab goes. I've also got right here where a screw goes. So we've got a lot of these. So basically underneath the vehicle, this is a little air vent that's in the front of mine. You can actually see through that vent to one of the ones here. So you got screws like this. You see that? Right up in there. There it is. So we need to take all of these puppies off. And right there is one. Alright, so basically, coming in from the side, you're going to have three bolts I should say, that attach from the bottom of that inner fender. Going across, I had the one in the middle, and then one on each side. And then the other side is just like the first side, so we're going to do the three over here from underneath, plus the one inside the fender, plus the ones on the inside of that inner fender. Now it uses these bolts for all of them, so you don't have to worry about that size refitting. And I pulled out my Craftsman metric, so that's a 5/16, whatever the metric version equivalent of that is, what you can use if you have this kind for yours. So they're just underneath there. Alright, so a quick show you. Once you've got the screws off and the inner fender screws off, you can basically just kind of reach under and just pull it lightly but gradually, and it pops off just like that. It's just clamps, that's all it is clamps. Pulling it forward. Alright, see if I can switch this camera. Comes apart, grab it so you don't lose it, and you can just take it off. We're going to remove our plugs, which is for our fog lights. Got one here, which is just old school clip. Just kind of push it in. Do that. Let you get a look at that. So we're going to push this in, the tab, and then back it out to release. This is being a little stubborn. Slowly it comes out. There we go. That releases my fog lamps. Next thing we'll be releasing is this, which is a 10mm. And on the other side, the same thing, 10mm. And that's going to allow me to, from the inside, see if you can get up in there, release a couple of pieces inside to bring the radiator forward. So it also looks like I've got my air duct work in the way here on this side. So I'm going to take this off as well. So I've got my pieces here, and I'll go ahead and do it from this point. I could do it from here, but this might be in my way, so I'm just going to go ahead and take it from here. So I'm going to undo this one, unplug my plugs, which is just the usual tabs and release. I've got a little hose connection right here, which if you look at it closely, see if I can get a focus in on there. If you look at it closely, all we're doing is releasing the clip here, and that basically kind of pushes down a little bit and towards the front of the car to release, and then this can let go and unplug. Just kind of wiggle it out, it'll come off. Okay, so we'll take that off as well. So next up, I've got the bumper off. Like I said, it's going to remove this tin. I'm going to take off my air intake, so I'm going to do it from here so I can have all the room I need instead of there. Once again, I'm going to take it from here. I'm going to remove this tab, this plug. I'm going to take this one and this one off, and anything else that's connected to it. Looks like we got a little vacuum line right here that I can take off, and that's all I can see before I actually get it off. I'll let you know if there's anything else. And then these wires have little clamps that hold them into place, like this one. We're going to slide that off by basically grabbing it underneath and lifting it up. I'll probably do that with my screwdriver. But inside of there, can you see this? That little piece right there is what releasing those tins from the front are. And I believe that this is where my brake is, from that plastic that sticks up on my radiator. We're going to confirm that shortly. Radiator hoses are easy. Squeeze those to pull it out. That's your upper hose. And down below is the lower hose underneath this. Alright, let's get to it. To get to this one, what I did was first loosen this up, went on ahead and undid my clips here, which helps to release like you're changing the air filter. What that allowed me to do was be able to go ahead and pull this up and out, and now I'm able to get under here with a little bit more ease. So on this tab, or there is a red tab here, so on this connector you want to pull that red tab out, and then underneath there's like another little tab that you're going to push, and that'll help to slide it out. Now this is what it looks like. Let's get in close. Alright, so when it's on there, it's sealed and locked. So first you want to pull out that little red, and then you want to push that little button right there, and that'll help to release it from that component. Okay, the other one we already showed you. It's just loosened up in the back, so we're going to pull this one straight on out. We're going to take this one and pull it straight out. Remember to reconnect this stuff, guys. And for this one, it's also going to pull straight out after you release that tab. Remember I showed you already. So I'm just going to use the edge of the screwdriver to give me a little arm movement. And then that takes this piece off, and we're going to set it aside. Alright. That's going to give me a little bit more room inside now. Taking off these screws so I can go ahead and remove this one to give me even more room. You're just going to lift it straight up and out. So you can grab it by both sides to get a nice even pressure. Just lift it straight up and out like that. And you can tip it a little bit to get it out. So it's basically these little plugs right here that go into those holes down below. So that's where it just pulls straight on out. We're going to do this tab first. So what I like to do is I like to get up underneath and push it up, because all I have is a screwdriver. But if you have one of those tools that lifts out, then that's great. You know, it looks like a screwdriver, but it's got the two little teeth like this so that it evenly picks it up. Then that'll work way better. So, but I don't have one of those. And then that just kind of lifts it out. So all this is a little push tab. Alright, so we're going to do that to the other ones as well. After removing these two, I'm also going to remove the ones here, here, and here. Again, this is just holding the wiring harness in place. There's another one right there. So I'm going to move those all out the way just to give myself some extra clearance so I can get that fan shroud off. Like there was also a clip here and over here. So clips are here, here, if you can see that better right there. Going across, you have the two top clips. You've got the holder for the hose. We'll remove that also. You had a clip here, had a clip here, and one down below. And this will help to get me to move this out of my way. Get this hose out of the way. And then we're going to undo the clamps for this hose next. Alright, so we got this off. So I'm going to pull it back. I'm going to go ahead and get my channels. Squeeze, move it back. grip. There we go. There we go. And we'll be able to pull that hose off now. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and drain the fluid from the bottom. Hey Chris. So you got your radiator fan. Underneath there's the radiator, and you've got your drain plug. So we're going to set a bucket into place. Loosen this up. I've already pre-loosened it, so I should be able to do it by hand. And drain out our fluid. This coolant is actually pretty good, but I'm just going to go ahead and replace it with some 50/50. So we'll let that drain out, and just above that you got the lower clip, so we'll unclip that. We'll take off the hoses, take off the shroud, and should be able to pull out the radiator from this point. Got the operator of the hose off. Just gonna push that back and out of my way. Let it sit under here. That'll work. Got my clips off, so we're gonna move those back, get them out of my way, and I discover, there we are, we've got this connector. So we're gonna push in and pull to take off this clip connector. Alright. Now that should be able to make sure everything is good. This, here's a cable for the release for the hood. We'll get that out of there, so it's out of my way. Now there seems to be one screw here, and there should be another screw on this side going down. Yep, there it is, I feel it. So right about there. So we'll remove this one, that one, and the one on this side, and this fan shroud should be able to come off now for the most part. Okay. Yep. Let's see what size that is. That's my 5/16. And as you see, the radiator is kind of moving. So it's nice and loose now, since I've undone the two bolts that were in the front that hold the, we're going to call them bracket pins for lack of what they really are called, but I'm talking about this. That's what pretty much holds it in place. Got the little bracket that goes on there, a little clamp, so to speak, shroud that goes around it, and then it screws down right here. So that's the one here that I have, which is broken, so I got to replace that. I went on this side, which is still in there, but I took the screw out already. It's right there. So it's got a little rubber grommet. It feels like it's missing. And there's my hole. Look at that, guys. So that whole piece broke off right there. And that's, of course, my water problem. So I'm going to replace this tank, and I should be good to go. So after you get those two bolts off, the one on that side and the one on that side, there's these little edges here. There's another one right here. And it appears that it just kind of slides up and off. Nice and easy. I like it. And we're going to pull that out of here. So get these things out of my way. I'm going to go this way. I seem to have a lot more room over here. So I'm going to move my things out of my way. See if we can tip this up and out. Alright. Got to use two hands, guys, so my assistant is not here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll just take this out and then tell you what I did. I removed the clip in its connector that went into this one. There was a little holder right there, so removing that allowed me to take all the wires off of the fan shroud and move the hose back just a little bit more, and I was able to get clearance. This is pretty flexible, so I was able to get it past the engine cover, and so now I'm just kind of pulling it up and out. And there's my fan shroud. Nice. Put that over to the side. Let's get a good look at what we got. So now I've got my radiator. Looks like over here got a connector on this side somewhere that needs to come off, and got some more pieces over here. And you know what, actually that looks like the condenser part, so I do know about this around on the front. So front bumper section, this little tabs you need to move over. It's just a little rubber, so no problem, move that over. That'll give you access to these little plates or doors or baffles. I'm going to move that out of the way. Since it moves forward, it makes it easier. And I'm going to remove this bolt here, and there should be another one like it on the other side. So there's a little clip here. You can take it off. I just want you to be careful with it. You know, it sucks when you break things. It just makes a simple job more expensive. So we just took off that little one and moved it over to give me a little bit of clearance. I'm going to take that apart. And this side, same thing. It's got a little push tab there, which is already loose because my radiator's loose. Move that over, and yep, it's right here. Gonna take that one off, and that should separate my condenser from the radiator. Alright, and that looks like is it my 5/16 or a 10? Looks like that's gonna be using my 10. Yep, that's using my 10. Alright, take that off and see what's next. So that side was the 10. On this side goes back to my little small, what was that, 5/16 I was using earlier. It's weird that it had me do that, but you know, whatever. That should allow me to separate condenser from the radiator. I think we'll be ready to go. Actually, is that the condenser? Or is that the transmission cooler? Whatever this is, we're separating it. Now if you separate it, radiator kind of moves a little bit better. You're able to lift that condenser up slightly. It's probably hooked on like how the fan was, like probably little hooks on there. We'll confirm that later. But I was able to lift up slightly and able to separate it. Now you've got this little piece here that needs to come off, and it's held on by this clip. So I just got a little screwdriver underneath there and was able to kind of pull it up a little bit, and that comes off. So that's a little clip that helps to hold that little foam baffle, is what we'll call it. So we'll take that out carefully. It seems pretty fragile. Alright, so I was right. See down in there? It's got a little ledge. Let me get a good view of it. There you go. Got that little ledge. See, that whole piece moves. So what I'm doing is lifting the condenser off of it and bringing it forward. I'm going to do that on both sides. So basically over here, just kind of grabbing it, lifting it up, and you can see it down there. See it here? So I'm taking the condenser off of that so I can slide that radiator forward. So it looks like another little air dam or baffle. Probably comes off. We'll figure that out later. But for now, we got this. Move my lower hose out of my way. I should be able to get that out of there. Yay. What do you say? Alright, so I'm going to carefully lift this out, and that should be it. Let's get my assistant to help me. Alright, over here. So the whole piece of line for me. I close my drain, so I'm just going to so I'm just be careful not to radiate. Such a thing that I'm going to be reusing it, of course. That's all I do. It's not going to parts. See, I got my radiator that goes. I got a angle here. So I got a little baffle on the bottom, which is very simple on top. Radiator removed. So it's got that little baffle on the bottom. I'm not afraid of making a mess, so I'm going to go ahead and check it out. Turn it upside down. Yep, so it's got clips on the bottom. So we'll remove these two clips and this baffle will be able to come off. So we know the double clip baffle goes on the bottom, single clip baffle goes on the top. Looks like I've got a little rubber grommet here. I'm going to go ahead and take it off so I don't get it lost. There's another one on the bottom. Take that one off. Just slides off. There we go. So I'm going to have them replace this tank for me because this broke, which should be a little piece like that, and I would be willing to bet that my radiator otherwise is in very good to pretty good shape. Alright, and so that's my project, guys. Project, that's how you get the radiator out. Installation is more than likely the reverse of taking it out of there. So the first, I guess you could say, technically major project for my Explorer, because doing the other pieces weren't all that bad up to this point. So this is a 2011 Ford Explorer. This one in particular is a 4x4 V6 XLT. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Keep watching. Thumbs up. Subscribe, please.